Hello and welcome back to The Live One. I'm your host, Priya David Clemens. Today is Tuesday, October 25th. In studio with me is Lindsay Blakely, senior editor here at BNet. Hey.
Hey, how's it going?
Good morning. And also we're lucky to have Chris Mittelstaedt with us. Hey, Chris, good morning.
How are you? Good morning.
Chris is, as he dubs himself, the chief banana over at the FruitGuys.
Yeah, I guess I am. So, yeah.
All right, so
happy to be.
We're going to watch a video because we went and visited you all in 2009. Yeah. We're going to take a look at what your business was like then and then come back and talk with you a little bit about how things are going now.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you do the big boxes yesterday?
Yes, I did some big boxes yesterday.
So we've got navel oranges, we've got blood oranges, we've got Mineola Tangelos, Ojai Pixies. We really want to try to expose the customer to a wide breadth of taste. Hello. The FruitGuys delivers fresh fruit to offices as a way to keep employees healthy at work. Enjoy very much. We're just under 40 employees. We're in 3 cities. We have facilities in 3 cities around the United States. We ship fruit all over the United States to thousands of companies every week, and we're serving over 100,000 pieces of fruit every single week. The harsh realities for us came in 2001 when the dot-com crash happened. We had been expanding really fast. We had been putting all of our own money into growth. And I think I responded, like most entrepreneurs were. I mean, sheer terror was the first reaction, I think. And the next was, okay, well, what am I going to do about it? And we had to make some really difficult decisions. So we did lay off half of our staff at the time. And we just had to kind of get the business basics back in line. But we also responded by taking our business from a local San Francisco Bay Area presence to one that was national. And part of that was actually an accidental reaction to the dot-com. So many people had lost their jobs in the Bay Area that they actually went and got jobs in other places and then would call us up and say, hey, I loved eating your fruit in the Bay Area. Could I now get it in New York, or could I now get it in Washington, D.C., or in Chicago? So we started shipping fruit around the United States and said, well, gosh, if we're going to do this, we really should have a strategy around it and think about how we can help use this learning as a way to grow and expand our business, which is what we did. One of the things we invested in was inventing and developing a machine that could fold and put our boxes together so that we could reduce the amount of cardboard that we were using in our boxes. That saved us a lot of money, but it also saved the environment. We also use technology to help make our business efficient. So one of the things that we do is we use Google Maps for all of our truck routing. So we plot that on Google Maps and Google Earth, actually, and we can actually see where buildings are specifically and then be able to plot most efficient routes using some of that technology as well. 2009 was a tough year. I think we do a very good job at being honest with ourselves and responding quickly to the environment that we happen to be in. I definitely sort of take that MASH unit kind of approach to the way we run our business, and that we're mobile and that we're able to respond and change to what we need to. I think 2010 will be a good year for us. We're investing in new employees to help us grow. We're investing in new locations. So we're continuing forward with our plan.
All right. So, Chris, I know one of the changes that you've made from the time you began till now is that you don't just deliver to businesses. You're also delivering to homes and to schools. But how else, let's say even from 2009, from when we saw that, have you changed?
Yeah, well, I think I was thinking about this on the way over here and how setbacks or whether it's recession or failure or whatever, it really exercises a tremendous amount of discipline over you because you're really forced to make decisions about what you're going to do based on the realities you're confronting, not based you're not projecting forward into what you think is going to happen. And for us, we responded by saying, okay, well, like we did back in 2001 and 2002 during the dot-com crash, we went from being just a local business in the Bay Area to expanding nationwide in order to kind of diversify risk. we expanded our offering in this recession during 2008, 2009. So we actually put a number of initiatives forward during the recession to try to grow out of it, and we have. I mean, we grew $1 million or more in revenue from 2009 to 2010. We'll be 30-something% up from again from 2010 into 2011. And part of that has been because we added, our home delivery business of fruits and vegetables, organically and regionally grown, and then we also service a number of schools also as well.
So we're getting actually a question on the live chat.
Okay.
And if you have questions or comments, you can go ahead and submit those in the chat window to the right-hand side of your screen. But somebody would like to know what the FruitGuys does that other people don't. So is your business easy to copy, especially now that you've gone national? Is that something you worry about?
I mean, we do actually. I'm both sort of, I'm kind of proud of the fact that we actually have had a number of people copy us worldwide. I mean, there's even a company in New Zealand called fruitguys.co.nz, which we've, not been happy about, but it is what it is, But we. But there are people that copy our model. I think, quite honestly, this is one of those things where people say, "Oh, this is an easy business to start." I'm like, it's an easy business to start. It's a very difficult business to run on the second day. It's really easy to say, "Oh, I can package up fruit and bring it to an office." But once you get into realizing what a perishable product is, the logistics and the management of it, and the tight attention to detail that you have to have with your staff, and their commitment to sort of perfection in a world where you're never going to achieve perfection, but you're constantly striving for it, is something that you have to be really conscious of and really dedicated to.
There's also a constant education of your customers in terms of the fruit itself. And we were talking through some of the fruit that you have here, and a lot of it we recognize, right? There's an orange, there's an apple, but
Right.
Kiwi berries?
Kiwi berries, yeah, kiwi berries.
not something you see every day. You want to hold that up again?
Yeah,
We'll get a shot of it for people who are
And we-
watching. Yeah.
Kiwi berries are it's a cousin of the kiwi, and it doesn't have fuzz on it. It's a smooth skin, and you pop off the frond and you can pop them in your mouth. I like to call them the original sweet tart because they're sweet and tart. They they originate in China originally, and they've been around for a long time. And actually, there's lots of different varieties that have different kinds of flavors of them. We only see a couple of varieties in the United States right now. They're really specialty, very unique, and we love them. That's kind of one of our goals is to, fruit's been around forever, right? And people have eaten fruit forever. But really one of our goals is to try to excite people again about fruit and get them to understand that, when you think of candy, most of the flavors that come from that come from fruit, right? I mean, it's like, it's been this change from something natural and healthy to something unhealthy and unnatural. So we're really trying to reintroduce people to this idea of eating healthy and enjoying and experiencing those flavors and how it makes your body feel.
Well, and much of that education comes through this newsletter that you put into these boxes. Is it each time or every so often?
Yeah, no, I write this every week, and I'm still, it's sort of my, a blessing and a curse, right? Is that I love writing it because I never actually wanted to be a business person. When I moved to San Francisco, I wanted to be a writer, and so I enjoy writing the newsletter very much. But as the business gets busier, it's hard to do. So
well, you do have managers now.
I do have people that help me, and
But that's one of the challenges, right? I mean, finally, when you're a small business owner and you get to the point where you're managing through managers,
right?
Why is that so challenging?
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons why it's challenging. I think, sort of just operationally, it becomes challenging because, you're trying to impart your vision onto people that may not have or ever experienced that vision before. And I mean, one of the earliest lessons for me of that was how we developed this 5 R's concept about the way we run our business. And back in 1999, I had a driver who, came back from deliveries, and this customer, before he got to the warehouse, called me, and she was furious, telling me that he had basically given her the finger during the delivery and walked out of there after dropping the fruit at the office. And of course, I was upset, and I was apologizing to her. And he came back, and I said, why would you ever do this to somebody? And he said, well, I walked in, and she wasn't my normal contact, and she was telling me to move the fruit in the conference room, and she was yelling at me, so I just put the fruit down, I threw up my hands and left. And I said, well, why would you ever not stop and ask somebody what was going on and how you could help them? And he said, well, my dad taught me a long time ago that if somebody disrespects you, you want to disrespect them right back. And this was in 1999, a year after I started the business. And it took me a year to really have it dawn on me that not everybody had my exact same vision of what the idea of customers, service and respect and, those kinds of relationships were. So we developed this sort of simple 5 questions that we ask ourselves every day about how we're running our business. Have we been respectful at all times to people? Have we been responsive to their needs? Have we been realistic with them about what we can or can't accomplish? Did we take personal responsibility for the outcome? And when we walk away, are we going to be remembered positively? So for me, I think small business people, this is a roundabout way of answering your question, but I think in order to kind of translate stuff through managers, you do have to be very philosophical about your business, and you have to try to find a way to boil down that philosophy into something that's easy to understand and replicable over and over with people. And I think we do that fairly well. I think, maybe because I wanted to be a writer and I'm constantly thinking about communication and how you boil things down to their essence, that tends to be then something that I think helps us manage.
Let's talk a little bit about the economic realities that you're facing right now. We spoke with a business owner recently who makes Christmas cookies, and she was saying, in a way, the blessing for me is that it's easier to hire people now because there are a lot of folks out there. Do you find that, and how do you balance that with, finding people who say, okay, I'm sorry, I can't afford your business anymore. I can't afford to have the fruit come into the office.
Yeah, I mean, it is easier to find people right now, and it's hard to watch that because there's a lot of people suffering, and we're very conscious of that. We don't have a lot of turnover at FruitGuys. We want to develop people in the long run, so we really want to find great people and then develop them into leaders. For us, I think we had to retool, 2008 to 2009, just like we did in 2001 and 2002, we had to make adjustments. But I think we're living in an entrepreneur's decade. And the reason I say that is because it's inherent to being an entrepreneur that you accept and you are ready for and you expect change to happen constantly. And the economic realities that we're living in right now create an opportunity for entrepreneurs to constantly be changing and innovating because there's no other choice, right? I mean, you have to deal with the harsh realities of the economics, and so do I think it's not easier from a business standpoint, but it's but there are always balances, right? I mean, it's easier to find, I think, better, greater talent right now in terms of people. You have to dig harder for work, no doubt about it. But you can find ways to grow. You just have to be creative, and you have to be willing to take risks, and constantly be innovating.
We have a couple more questions coming in. A couple of them kind of point to the same thing, which is about, as you grow, how do you maintain quality? And then somebody else is asking about recent floods and droughts and whether or not that has affected the business.
Yeah, I mean, the hardest thing in the world is to be a farmer. And, my heart goes out to every single farmer we work with. I mean, we worked with a farmer who had been on his land for his family for 100 years up in Apple Hill towards, Tahoe, and has recently stopped farming because of a number of setbacks. And the thing that I see that happens is that if you're a farmer and you have 2 years of bad years, maybe in a row you can get past, but you get into 3 years, you get into 4 years, and you're done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so when you have tremendous weather realities or economic hardships, it's really difficult to recover. And that's one of the reasons why we're so committed to supporting small local farms, farmers that are farming on under 100 acres, that are living on the land and stewarding it themselves. It's really one of the reasons our core strategy is to continue to open small regional hubs around the United States so that we can buy from local farmers in those areas. Because I believe, and I think that we're going to see over the next decade, that the small farm in the United States is going to be a harder thing to keep going. And I worry that there's an aggregation of larger farms, and I want to support the small ones. So.
We saw in the video how you created a machine that helped you with your packaging. Tell us a little bit about your packaging and distribution costs at this point.
There's been inflation. I mean, I think the thing that raw material cost in general, whether it's fuel or whether it's cardboard, all that stuff has been going through the roof. We have been reluctant to sort of pass on those costs to our customers because we're, conscious of the economic times we're in. So we've had to become more efficient on the back end. The machine was one of those things. Mm-hmm. We reduced our cardboard usage by 40% when we put that machine into place. It was a big investment for us, but it was something that's been worthwhile, and it's been very helpful.
How did that change? I mean,
The box?
Yeah, the box itself. Is there something you can show us on this? Of how
Well,
it-
because fruit's heavy, when you deliver fruit in these boxes, in order to have them so that they hold up and that they don't break when you lift them, if you're not gluing the sides together, you have to basically have multiple folds in order to create the stacking strength. So we had to use a lot more cardboard to create the multiple folds and sort of the origami of this box. So by using a machine and thinking about it differently, there are trade-offs. I mean, I originally started out wanting to use a cold press biodegradable glue, but one doesn't exist that would work for this kind of strength cardboard. So we had a real challenge with that. So we had to sort of make a small compromise in that we put beads of glue here. But overall, I mean, we're using 100% post-consumer cardboard, water soluble soy-based inks, and we're using 40% less cardboard than we did when we were folding them, which to me was a very reasonable environmentally move to make in terms of preserving resources.
Now, as you grow, I mean, what are you willing to sacrifice, if anything? I mean, I think that's sort of a perpetual question for small business owners when they sort of get into the growth phase. I mean, at some point, something has to give, right? Or how do you approach that from your philosophy?
I hope not. I mean, I think one of the things we always want to be real. I mean, and I recognize that, if you look at family-owned businesses, and we're really trying to stay, a privately held business. We're not taking money. We haven't ever, we've done it sort of internally, and we want to continue to grow that way because we believe that, there's value in being able to make decisions around our charity work that we do, around sustainability, around low-income folks. We're very committed to those things, and I don't want those things to leave us. So really, for me, one of the things that we have to constantly do is think about how we embed those into our culture. So, I mean, I'm constantly thinking about, knock on wood, not in a bad way, but, if I died tomorrow, what would be left behind? How would people, carry on kind of the vision of the company and the operational, goals of the company? And one of them is our Good Works program. So how do we embed our sort of social consciousness or our sustainability initiatives into what we do every day? And I don't mean just that we have charitable things, but I want everybody, regardless what they do, whether they're in marketing or they're in operations or they're in distribution, to think, am I being a valuable steward in the way that we look at Good Works as FruitGuys overall? So if everybody looks at that from their chair, their position, then as a company, I think we'll kind of come to that goal together. And that's really a cultural thing, and I think it takes a lot of time and a lot of work and a lot of constant discussion and education of folks to make sure we're all on the same page there.
Can you give us a peek at what's on the horizon for you? Where would you like to be in 2 years, 5 years?
I mean, I have fairly ambitious goals. I mean, we're excited about, what we're doing, and we're going to kind of stay steady. We'll continue to open, regional, hubs and work with local farmers. I mean, that's really part of our mission, and we're not swaying from that. And now we're continuing to build infrastructure. We're, constantly developing new products and ways that people experience our program, like we did with homes or schools. We're going to continue to expand on those things. So, there's nothing sort of dramatic that I'm announcing, but it's sort of, I think, a growth of what we've set in motion.
And let me ask you, one of the questions that came in, one of the viewers asked, what about running your business gives you a headache? And I might put that even a little bit differently or a little stronger. What are the things that keep you up at night or wake you up in the middle of the night sometimes and make you think, oh, what are your worries?
The worries now are not as bad as they were in 2001. I mean, I think the worry I have is actually, like I said earlier, where failure or setbacks can really define your mission because you're forced to do it. One of the worries I actually have now is for success. And I say that sort of with a smile because we all want success. But success can also make you slightly undisciplined, because then if you're not focused on where you're going, you can say, oh, I'm going to experiment with this here, and there's this money here, and and then all of a sudden you're spread out all over the place. So being able to remain focused and true to kind of what we're doing and not losing that focus is something I do worry about. And I know myself, and I'm kind of a classic entrepreneur in that I'm a bit ADD. So I want to try a lot of things. So I have to think about how do I structure my experiments so that they're sort of external to the core, business. And then if they work, then we can bring them in and fold them into the business to allow them to grow so that we really don't set back the movement of the business forward. So that's important. So that worries me. But I also, I love people, and when people in the business have problems or people aren't happy with something, or there's, and in a company you're always going to have HR issues, right? I mean, there's always going to be something going on in somebody's life. I mean, I take those things really seriously, and I want to help people. So, sort of the folks that I work with, their lives a lot of times keep me up too, just thinking about how can I be more helpful and sort of be in service to them as well as we grow.
Any last minute tips you want to impart viewers with, just in terms of facing this particular economy?
Business is sacrifice even in a good economy. We didn't make money for the first 3 years. My wife was working and supported me while we grew. And I think you have to, a lot of times, I've been on shows where we say, oh, Chris is running a business and is making $5 million. I'm like, well, that's in revenue, and we may not we may be making a teeny bit of that, and investing everything we can in growing the business and trying to give better jobs to people and raise their wages and give them better benefits. So I think you have to be realistic about what it is, and you have to be willing to take it on the chin all the time. It is literally a slugfest. I played rugby in high school and college, and I think that prepared me for getting beaten up regularly, and you just have to be ready for that, because it's constant head banging kind of thing, and you just have to know that you have to just be persevere and just keep at it. So,
Chris, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been great. And Lindsay, thank you for being here. This is Lindsay's last show, folks. For those of you who don't know, she is going to be going to Inc. magazine, and we wish you very well.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been great having you on the live one.
You can Skype me in if you miss me.
Perfect. That would be great. All right, everybody, come on back to the live one on Thursday. Our guest on Thursday is Jeffrey Moore. He's an author of How to Free Your Company from the Pull of the Past. That's on Thursday right here on the live one on BNet at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. See you then.